Welcome back, everybody, to the Blazer Victory Podcast, episode number 53. This is your co-host, John Duncan, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Steve Irvine. And, guys, it's time for an old rivalry as our UAB Blazers travel down to Hattiesburg, Mississippi this Saturday afternoon to take on the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Kickoff will be at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. The game will be televised on Stadium, but you can also watch it locally on WABM 68. But, of course, as always, make sure you get your radio dials up at 1:30, an hour before kickoff, as Landon Roberts starts the pregame show. And then it'll also be Landon Roberts on the sideline this Saturday, and Steve Irvine and David Crane, as always, on the call. But, Steve, I'm not going to beat around the bush, man. This is not a typical Southern Miss team that we face. They're kind of struggling right now. And, you know, I'll play my interview that I had with Shane Lott that does a great job with Jamie Jason on To the Top Talk, which is a Southern Miss podcast. You know, like I said, I'll play that in a few minutes. But, man, this is just a beat-up Southern Miss team. And, I mean, you want to say you feel bad for them, but then being a rival, you really don't feel bad. But
bad. Feel bad for Southern Miss? Come on now.
Right?
Jeez, come on now. No, thank you.
Right. I agree.
No, and that's what's so cool about this rivalry is this is, I mean, there's some true, and, you know, hate, you know, I'm not a real big believer in hate, you know, type stuff, but I mean, there's a strong dislike, you know, both ways. And, you know, one side's not going to have any sympathy for the other. You know, it didn't bother me at all. You know, that
Yes.
even though, you know, I mean, I say that, but I don't ever want anybody to get hurt. I mean, ever,
No.
you know, I mean, I don't care how much you dislike their team. You know, I mean, these kids work way too hard and put too much into this to if you're happy because a guy's hurt, you're a fool. I mean, that's
Agreed.
just bottom line. I mean, you know, but, you know, the misfortune of losing and that kind of stuff, I don't feel bad whatsoever, even though I am a huge, and I've said it over and over, and I'll keep saying it, I'm a huge Will Hall fan. I think Will Hall is the absolute right guy in the job. I think he'll turn this program, and I think there'll be a very good program, unfortunately, under him. But no, you know, I'm not spending a whole lot of time feeling sympathy, you know, that they're struggling. But again, I wish they were 100% healthy. I wish both teams were 100% healthy. I wish every team in the country was. I mean, that's just my belief, you know. I mean, I don't know if everybody believes that way, and I don't really, you know, worry about what others do. But that's kind of where, you know, we're thinking about that. But I mean, the great thing about this rivalry, and that's, I mean, even when you have a struggling team or struggling teams, if you know, in certain years, it's just there's just so much that's happened in this rivalry. So many, you know, just twists and turns and, you know, upsets and bad calls and stolen playbooks and, you know, just you know, you know, a lot of stuff that's just it's been a fun rivalry, and it's been a real streaky rivalry, but it's been, you know, it's certainly been a fun rivalry, and you know, it hasn't lacked for drama, you know, and even in the blowouts. I mean, even that, you know, 70 to whatever, 14 game, whatever, or that travesty at Legion Field and McGee's last year. And, you know, but, you know, it's always kind of fun, you know, and I'll tell you what, it's really fresh. And, you know, a lot of people in the UAB locker room, UAB program's mind, what happened in 19.
Yes.
And, you know, they got worked, you know, and, Southern Miss was really good that day, and, you know, UAB wasn't. And
right.
So there's still a little bad feelings over that. And, you know, I would imagine that, you know, Bill Clark brought that up probably pretty quickly after the FAU thing. You know?
Oh yeah.
Maybe in the locker room. I don't know. Probably, maybe not the locker room, but not too long afterwards.
I was gonna say, you know, he did, yeah, because I mean, unfortunately, I was at that game in 19, that 37-2 game, and I believe that was Dylan Hopkins' first start too. So, you know, he's definitely gonna remember that game.
Yeah, and he's, you know, of course, he's totally different than he was then.
Light
but
years, light years.
Yeah, but and so, you know, Southern Miss is different than they were then. But
yeah,
but yeah, it's you know, so it's gonna be interesting. no offense, but I really hope they don't wear those mustard yellow things that
Oh,
they
those are
were.
so
Of
ugly. Oh
course, they
man.
scored 70. That's what they wore when they scored 70 that
Oh
year. So
yeah.
no, maybe they will, but it'll be fun. I mean, I always, I always enjoy going there. The people that, at least in the press box, Jack Dugan is the SID there is one of the, best people you'll ever meet. And, I like the people there.
Yeah.
I just don't like their team.
Right. And I like the
Yeah.
stadium. The Rock's a nice place. I remember going there years and years ago just thinking, man, I wish we could get a place like this to our own. And look at us now, man. We've got Protective Stadium, which is
I
even
know.
nicer than the Rock. So,
I know. I know. I do like their on campus tailgating. I think it's a nice
yes,
campus, and I think
it
that
is.
the tailgating there, and it's a great atmosphere. I am kind of interested to see what what the crowd's like, whether they're going to be a little nasty, whether they're going to be where they're going to show up, whether they're going to be excited, whether they're going to be not excited. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of what the atmosphere is, because generally the atmosphere is pretty good,
Yeah.
and some years real good, and
Hmm.
so it'll be I hope it is, because again, these guys at every school, they work so hard. You hate, you want to see them get some rewards of at least, having people care about them on your campus, your own people.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, it'll be, like I say, it's a fun day. We're probably just going, well, not probably, we're going to drive over and for the game and then drive right back. A lot of times we stay, there's a couple, there's some good places to eat there. And I don't dislike Hattiesburg. I think Hattiesburg's a nice little town.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
And it's
as
kind of
long as,
grown up the last couple of years too. Now, back in the day, it wasn't as nice as it is, but the last few years, they've added some
yeah,
spots, and it's nicer. Yeah, back in 19, I had a blast. Well, other than the game, of course, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
let's talk about this Southern Miss team. They're 1-5 coming into this game, 0-2 in Conference USA play. They're coming off of a loss to UTEP where they lost last week, 26-13. Just struggling, and really all year have been struggling to get that ground game going with Frank Gore Jr., who is a very talented running back. And of course, yes, he is the son of NFL. I believe he's still in the NFL. Frank Gore. I mean, he's a good back, but you put on the tape, Steve, and I mean, this is one of the worst offensive lines in the country. I mean, and I hate to say that. I mean, I know, in our interview, or my interview with Shane, he mentions, there's been a bunch of injuries on that offensive line. But man, I mean, they just can't get the ground game going. They've given up almost 30 sacks in just 6 games. I mean, honestly, man, I'm not even gonna beat around the bush. Should definitely be a UAB win. It should be a lopsided win. But if you tell me right now, if you give me the choice of just a 1-point win and it's a guarantee, I'll take it, because all that matters is getting the W on a conference road game. But man, just looking at it, I don't even see how this is going to be close.
Yeah, I mean, me, I'm not much into that kind of
I know.
approach. I think because you never know what happens in a game. I think part of what's happening with Frank Gore is they can't throw the ball that well. Now
Yeah.
Jake Lang is since he's been in there, is he threw the ball real well against Rice, and threw the ball okay against UTEP, and that might open things up a little bit for him. But I just think that, I think the approach that I know that, I mean, I'm not know, but I would imagine the approach that UAB is going to take is take away the run, just, line up to take away the run, and then say, okay, try to beat us, through the air. And if you can, God bless you. But
Yeah.
I don't think you can. But and that's the good thing about UAB's front has been so good that they really don't have to line up to stop the run.
No.
They just play defense to stop the run. I mean, they've
Right.
been so good against the run that they don't have to do a whole lot of special stuff to stop the run. They're just they just whip people up front. And so, I think that certainly the approach is that, defensively for UAB is, we're gonna make you beat us with the pass, and if you can, then we're gonna have to adjust. But until you can, we're going to dare you to do it. So I think we see a lot of that, and we'll see what Jake Lang, see if he's capable of doing that. I don't know that he's,
I mean, he's the fourth string guy. So
yeah. And I mean, I know he's a fourth string guy. I don't, just by what I've seen, he's not really a D1 quarterback. And I think he's played his tail off. I think I think you watch him, he plays with confidence. He, I don't, I mean, he's fourth string for a reason. And, I think if healthy, a healthy quarterback position, and you would have never heard of him,
right.
And, so I don't think there's any doubt about that. And, and that's a shame for him. I mean, I would like to have seen what they would have been with Trey Lowe or Ty Keys, and I think Ty Keys has a chance to be pretty darn good, college quarterback at some point. He was gonna, I don't know that he was ready, but he was the next best guy, and I think he was starting to, maybe progress a little bit, and by the end of the year, probably would have been a pretty good quarterback, and and maybe he'll get back in. They don't know yet, but. Certainly Trey Lowe's out for the year, and so we'll see. It's just hey, they went and added a
was it a coach?
A coach, yeah, like a student coach, that basically was elevated, or I don't know if elevated is the right word, but became the number 3 quarterback. That's kind of how they are. And I tell you what, though, you see interviews with Will Hall, and I mean, I've watched quite a few this week, and just not just from this week, but just interviews from this season with him, and just kind of watching and studying on these guys. And man, he doesn't make an excuse. He's just like, hey, we're gonna play with what we got. Seeing when he announced that the coach was, the student coach was going to be. The number 3 guy, is almost like he seemed excited about it, and that's great. I think that's a great approach. I mean, because you can't, you can't change this stuff. I mean, it's just football, man. And it's, some years you're gonna run into this, and some years you're not,
Right.
And, I mean, he might, he's, they're down to the, 4th quarterback right now. He might go 3 more years without ever getting to his 3rd quarterback, or even really the 2nd quarterback. I mean, you just never know. I mean, and so they just, it's a bad time for it to happen. But I just I like, I don't know that I want my team to do this, but I kind of like stories like Jake Lang. I mean, I just think it's cool. And heck, if that coach, I don't remember his name now, but if he gets in, Strayhorn or something like that. But anyway, if he gets in, that'll be a neat story, and we'll see what happens. So, again, I mean, you just got to go play it, and whoever's there plays, and whoever's not doesn't, and
exactly.
It's the way it is. It's the way it is.
But just touching on Will Hall again at Southern Miss, I mean, and this is what, Shane kind of talks about too in our interview, but I mean, he is a great fit for that school. He's a Mississippi guy. He's already recruiting well for Southern Miss. So I definitely do think they have the right guy. This isn't an Ellis Johnson type of situation where it's just all hell is breaking loose for Southern Miss. They're just catching a lot of bad breaks right now. And they're just banged up literally everywhere on the team.
Yeah. And I think one thing that even kind of compounds it a little bit is Will Hall is his offense is a quarterback driven thing, and I know that sounds I mean, like every offense probably is, but Bill Clark, for example, wins games with defense in the running game, and mixing in some pass, but he's probably, his style is probably a little bit different, a little bit, I guess, better suited to losing quarterbacks. You know what I mean? I mean, and Will Hall, I'll tell you, I mean, his offense is a quarterback driven offense. So of all the positions for him to be down to the number 4 guy to have success, quarterback is like last on the list. You want that to happen.
Yeah.
And again, that's, I mean, a lot of, obviously quarterback's a huge position, but some people emphasize different, coaches emphasize different things and win with different styles. His style is he's got to have a good quarterback. They thought they might have had it with their first two guys eventually. They don't. They have the number 4 guy now, and so it's certainly going to change what they do. Now, with that being said, always kind of said is Jake Lang hadn't played bad now. I mean, it's not like you're talking about a guy who's come in and has been 2 for 19 for 22 yards and 4 interceptions. I mean, he's done okay. Yeah. So he's come in and played well. Not good enough to win, but they only lost to Rice by 5.
Yeah, he did have three picks in that game though.
He did, yeah, but here's a guy who basically is approaching things.
Yeah.
Going into the season is I'm not getting on the field. I'm gonna work my tail off. I'm gonna be ready and all that kind of stuff, but I ain't getting on the field. That's just the truth of it. And then all of a sudden he's in there, so. It'll be, I think the one thing that you got to do, as UAB on Saturday, and they will, is you got to get after him and make him just very, very uncomfortable. You got to hit him a lot.
Yes.
If you hit him a couple of times, I certainly don't condone 15-yard penalties, but you got to make him uncomfortable. You got to hit him. And I don't mean dirty. You got to make him uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And certainly, again, I'm not condoning that you go try to get a penalty, but you got to hit him,
right? You got to get to him, yeah. And just what they did to N'Kosi Perry last week against FAU, just get to him, man.
Yeah, get to him, make him uncomfortable, make him make bad decisions. It would be wonderful. I think it'd be huge for UAB and, to do the same sort of get out to a quick start, whether that be a turnover or 3 and out or whatever, but, get or a couple of 3 downs in a row and try to get out to a quick start. And conversely, I think it's going to be huge for Southern Miss and, in my opinion, to have something happen good early, try to get a good feeling early on. Cause I think if they fall down 14-0 or, 10-0 or whatever it may be and make a mistake, a couple of early mistakes, I think it's kind of, could be the start of a long day. But if they get some confidence early, with whatever it may be, then I think that'd be good. I tell you, other than just kind of watch them and study them, and I don't know what their philosophy is, really, but I'd take a shot right away. I'd come out and I'd kind of like UAB that did last year when in Bryson Lucero's first start. First play of the game, just
against South,
throw deep. And Jason Brownlee's a good receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He had 8 catches against Rice for I think 125 or something like that. And they got a couple other guys. And I'm just throwing deep. Just take a shot early. Maybe not on first down, but early for sure. And then see what happens there.
Yeah, but if you're UAB, you have to come out early. Just put Southern Miss away as quickly as possible. Like you were saying earlier, go up 10-0, 14-0. Just put them away early. That way they have no chance. And because if you let it linger and it's close, like heading into halftime, and you're giving that Southern Miss team some confidence. This Southern Miss team obviously take away the Alabama game and take away the South Alabama game. Really, they've kind of been in every other ball game they've played. So really, it would be great to see UAB just come out dominant, like you said, take a couple deep shots early. Hopefully, you hit them with Shropshire or with Garrett Prince or somebody. And just put Southern Miss away early, just get that momentum and just shut Southern Miss out. Because I really do like our defensive line against their not so good offensive line. So definitely expect Vincent to try to do that, honestly.
Yeah, I certainly could see it, just try to, because I think that's important. I'd almost say that you win the toss, take the ball, just try to right away, and I don't know that, Coach Clark is, I think if you go back and look at it, I think he generally, and most coaches do wait till the second half, but, in this case, I might just go ahead and just say, give me the ball, and we're going to set the tone right now.
Just don't pull a Garrett McGee and kick it off in the second half.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, that'd be the gentlemanly thing to do. Southern Miss is struggling. Let them do that. But no, I mean, I don't. I might do that. I might just say, just give me the ball.
Just give me the ball. Yeah.
I agree. But I mean, who knows? I mean, we'll see. I do think that. Yeah, looking forward to it. And I do think that. I do think that Southern Miss is not bad defensively. I think they have some good players defensively. Josh Clark's a really good looking player, defensive lineman. He's a transfer from, I think it was a FCS All-American from, Southeast Louisiana. I think he looks good.
Malik Shorts, yeah.
Yeah, Malik Shorts is good. Hayes Maple was good last year, as a freshman. So, I think I think there's some pieces of the Southern Miss type defense. They're certainly not what they were, over the years, but, I think there's some pieces, and I think they'll get after you a little bit. And, but you get, UAB is they really need to just dominate this game up front on both sides.
Agreed.
Certainly capable of it. And they need to do it, and just dominate it. And, let's end this thing early. It'd be nice to kind of end this thing early and just add to it from there. But we'll see, and I mean, I want to see, and I've harped about this last 2 weeks. I don't want to see any, missed opportunities. That's the one thing that has hurt UAB over the past 2 games. And, obviously they had made enough opportunities, took advantage of enough opportunities to win comfortably against FAU. But it'd be nice to have one of those games where you don't, miss some things, and whether it be drop passes, key penalties, missed open guys, just anything like that. So we'll see. We'll see. And the other thing that's I think is going to be interesting to me is just the focus.
Yeah.
Because this is really the first time this year that UAB is going into a game with the feeling that they're just, dominant physically over this team. Not physically is the wrong word, but just kind of, like the outcome almost seems like a given to a lot of people. Because the North Texas thing to me, they had enough offense where you kind of started wondering, like, I wonder. I mean, you looked at it and thought, okay, well, UAB should win this game. If you're a UAB person, you think that. But there was a little bit of, I don't know though. They're good offensively, and if they're healthy enough, can we outscore them, and things like that. Where I think this one, where Southern Miss is, physically and just as a program right now. You look at it and go, okay, well, this is a win, and I mean, if you, and I'm not talking about the players or coaches, because they don't approach it that way. They approach it, they got to go out and do their job. But I'm just talking about like from the outside looking in,
right?
You sort of feel that way. So, we'll see the focus there. We'll see the focus. Do they come in, complacent or not? And I don't think they will. For a couple of reasons. And I think the biggest one is, one of the big ones is this, it's a huge rivalry, and 37-2 still fresh, and so, but it'll be, it's kind of intriguing to think about and see what happens.
Definitely. Well, this will be the 19th meeting between the two schools, UAB and Southern Miss. And again, it will be Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. Make sure that you listen to Jocks 94.5 FM with David Crane, Steve Irvine, and Landrum Roberts on the call. And also, guys, if you're not subscribed to the Blaze of Victory podcast on a podcast platform, please make sure that you're subscribed to us on either Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Amazon, TuneIn, wherever. Just make sure that you hit that subscribe or follow button. And also make sure and give us a follow on Twitter at twitter.com/BlazerPod. But on that note, I'll go ahead and roll my interview that I had with Shane Lott from To the Top Talk. And guys, we'll see you in a couple days after the Southern Miss game for our recap episode. But as always, go Blazers. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Blazer Victory Podcast. This is John Duncan, and I am pleased to be joined by Shane Lott of the To the Top Talk, which is a great Southern Miss podcast covering all things Southern Miss. Shane, thank you so much for just taking the time out to speak with me today.
Man, I appreciate you wanting to have a mustard buzzard on. We'll talk a little football.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, definitely, guys, if you're not already following To the Top Talk on Twitter, definitely go ahead and stop what you're doing now and follow them at twitter.com/To the Top Talk. And also give Shane a follow on his personal Twitter page, which is Eagles_To the Top. Both of, he does a great job on there and does a great job with Jamie and Jason on To the Top Talk. I started listening to you guys about a year or so ago. I'm going to be honest, I haven't listened a whole lot this year, but I am definitely looking forward to when you guys drop that UAB preview episode. And I think you guys are doing that Wednesday night, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Shane?
That's correct. We'll have it out Wednesday night. We normally record on Mondays and have it out Monday night or Tuesday morning, but Jamie's out of town this week, hence why you're talking to me instead of the head man there. But we'll have it out Wednesday night when he gets back and things get slowed down a little bit.
Definitely. We're looking forward to that. And, just like we are, you can find them on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere where you can find podcasts. But Shane, let's just kind of start off, Southern Miss, just to be honest, they're not off to the season that, I'm sure you guys expected, 1-5 right now, 0-2 in Conference USA play. Just first question, what's the morale of the fan base with Will Hall?
Better than you would expect with us being 1-5 at this point in time. We didn't have the greatest season last year. Jay Hopson started it off at 3-7, or the year ended 3-7. Jay Hopson started off with a loss to South Alabama and then kind of was forced to resign there. And then we had 2 additional head coaches over the course of the year. So there was a lot of turmoil last year, just kind of left the program in disarray. Morale was really down. But I don't think we could have found a better fit than Will Hall. Will Hall's a Mississippi guy. He played high school football under his legendary high school football coach, Bobby Hall, that's his dad, and went on to play Division II ball and won the Division II Heisman. I'm going to maybe mess this up, but I believe at North Alabama. Big football background for a Mississippi guy, and then went on where he did really well with those programs and kind of built them back up, turned them into playoff contenders, and then made the leap into offensive coordinator positions in FBS, where we stole him away from Tulane as their offensive coordinator last year. So that's kind of his history. But you couldn't ask for a more Mississippi guy with deeper ties to the state. He knows every coach in the state and has known him since he was a kid and just knows Mississippi football and Mississippi families. So he's doing, despite our 1-5 start this year, I believe he's got the 3rd ranked class in Conference USA lined up with the new rules where they'll allow teams to take up to 7 additional signees this year to get to 32 if you've got 7 guys going in the transfer portal, which he's stated a few times already. He expects that to happen. So we'll bring in a class of 32 this year and really focus on some of the key areas that are really giving us problems and making us struggle this year. But speaking back to the morale, you're going to have your people that are not happy in every fan base, regardless of what's going on. You had I don't want to mention the program's name, but there's another program in Alabama located in Tuscaloosa that lost a football game last week, and people were calling for their legendary coach's head. So people are going to call for heads when things aren't going great. But I feel like the vast majority of the fan base is behind Will, understands that he's doing a rebuild job, and are being patient with him and knowing that it's not going to be a quick fix, that he's really going to come in and rebuild the program the right way for the long haul, and not just look for a good year or two and then move on down the road. Not saying that he won't move on down the road when he gets this thing built. I hope he pulls the fedora, wins the conference championship, and triples his pay. But It's going to take another couple of years probably before Southern Miss is in contention, and most people understand that.
Yeah, and real quick, Shane, I'm fine with that as long as he doesn't pull a fedora and hang 70 plus on UAB like they did a few years ago. Definitely fans that like to forget that.
Yeah, that may have been what started our curse that have run through the last decade is pulling that move on you guys, because whether it be really, I mean, it boils down to some bad hires. We had Jeff Bauer here for the longest time, and things just kind of got stagnant under Bauer. He was a great coach. He had ran a fantastic program, winning season after winning season, won a handful of Conference USA championships. But things were just starting to get stagnant. The game of football was changing, and Bauer was really kind of still wanting to do the 3 yards in a cloud of dust offense and play strong defense, and that just fans were starting to get frustrated with that and giving up, and so people agree with it, they don't agree with it, but Bauer was kind of forced out. And then along that same mold of a Will Hall type hire, there's a formula that works at Southern Miss since Bauer's gone, and that is younger coach, offensive background, works the fan base, has energy, and really gets people involved. And Fedora worked. He was there from 2008 to 2011. Never had a losing season. Ended up going 12-2, beating Houston. A top 10 Houston in the Conference USA championship game before North Carolina hired him away. And then our administration got scared and listened to some of the older fans that really liked the comfort of having Jeff Bauer around for all those years, and went out and hired an old SEC defensive coordinator and Ellis Johnson that, he'll finish his career at Southern Miss. We don't have to worry about him leaving. Well, he did finish his career at Southern Miss, and we had to run him out of town because he went 0-12 in 2012. And then we went back to the formula that works when we hired Todd Monken, who's, now the offensive coordinator at Georgia after a few years in the NFL, after he left Southern Miss. But Monken, offensive coordinator at Oklahoma State, brilliant offensive mind, wasn't the rah-rah type of fiery, get people fired up personality, but Monken wasn't afraid to tell you how it was. And he'd be brutally honest, and the fans really responded to that. I think, people appreciate honesty, and Monken was a no BS type of guy. And he went 1-11 in his first year after Ellis Johnson went 0-12, kind of pulled the program back from rock bottom. Then went 3-9 his next year, and then 9-5 in his third year, and won Conference USA West. And then he leaves for an NFL gig. And we make that same kind of panic move. Let's bring in a defensive guy that, one of us had coached at Southern Miss before. He'll stay here for a long time, in Jay Hopson. Well, Jay Hopson wasn't the catastrophe that Ellis Johnson was, but he was more of a slow spiral that kind of got us to where Hall's starting off. Hopson was there for 4 full seasons, went 7-6, 8-5, 6-5, 7-6. Nothing super impressive, and then started off with a loss last year to South Alabama that I touched on. And after the 2 other head coaches were Scotty Walden was the offensive coordinator. It was kind of known to him that he wasn't going to get the head coaching job, so he accepted mid-season the head coaching job at Austin Peay and moved on. And then Tim Billings, who was the defensive coordinator, took over for the last couple games of the year. And we actually, in the last game of the year, kind of put it on FAU, who was a strong team in the conference last year, and gave people some hope, which may have been a little false hope, too, which led to maybe heightened expectations in year 1 of Will Hall. But now as we sit at 1-5 and Eagle fans have been brought back down to earth, we kind of understand where we are. We really the offensive line position is a big position where we just lack a lot of veteran talent. We've got some young guys in there, and that's really kind of the weak spot that we'll touch on, I'm sure, as we continue to talk. But that puts us to where we are, to where we're back to the offensive minded coach that resonates with the fans, and people are still showing up to the games. I live in North Carolina now. I've been up here for about 5 years, and I was able to fly down and go to homecoming last weekend, and still had a pretty respectable crowd. We're still, I believe, right behind you guys in second place in Conference USA as far as attendance. You're on about 25,000 a week. It's pretty dang good for the Group of 5 level at this stage in time.
No
not
doubt.
A lot of people are doing that. So people are still showing up. They're still buying tickets and going to games. There was a pretty good atmosphere. We do our tradition. If any Blazer fans have been to a game in Hattiesburg, a couple hours before kickoff, we do a thing called Eagle Walk, where the team kind of does a mini parade with the band and the cheerleaders around half of the stadium before they go into the athletic center at the end of the stadium and get ready for the game. And I mean, just exceptional crowd there, good energy, lots of people out to greet the team. So people are there. It's just we've really got to swallow a little bit of our pride. Quit fighting so many people on Twitter when they tell us that we're horrible, because I mean we're pretty terrible. But we're a proud bunch, and we're not going to let too many people talk a lot of smack about Southern Miss football with our eyes on the future and knowing that we believe in Will Hall and he's going to get us back to where we should be.
Right. And, looking at the schedule so far this year, too, I mean, you take away the Alabama game. I mean, Southern Miss has been in every game that they play. I mean, obviously they beat Grambling, to open the season, but they've been in every game. I mean,
we started off with a 31-7 loss at South Alabama.
Oh, that's right.
And that was, so that was our worst loss outside of Bama. And you can take Bama out of the mix. They're kind of a different animal.
Yeah.
But even in that game, we only gave up 31 rushing yards to South Alabama, and they threw for 269. We ourselves had 125 yards rushing, 133 yards passing in that game. So pretty balanced offense, just really couldn't get anything going. Then in week 2, we had Grambling at home, handled them pretty well. We're able to get a ground game going, almost rushed for 300 yards, beat them for 37-0, and didn't give up 150 yards of offense. So then after the Grambling game, it's been close games besides Bama. We haven't lost a game by more than 2 touchdowns. So we haven't been blown out anything, but we're pretty inept on offense at this point in time. We're on our 4th string quarterback at this point in time, who the kid has done, respectably well. He came in the Rice game in the second series. Our 3rd string quarterback, who's a Mr. All Everything Gatorade Player of the Year in Mississippi, threw for 15,000 yards in his high school career, named Ty Keys. Was injured in the first drive, some kind of lower leg, high ankle injury. He's going to be out for the foreseeable future. And let me back up a little bit, because I did say we're on our 4th quarterback. Trey Lowe, who was a transfer out of West Virginia, who played at the end of last season, went down in the Grambling game right before halftime. Trey went to kneel to run the clock so we could go into halftime, and got stepped on and broke his foot. So, you're kind of snake bit when your starting quarterback gets put out for basically the year on a clock play before halftime playing an FCS team. That should have probably been a sign from the gods for us.
Yeah.
But so, your starter goes out, super uber talented true freshman comes in the second half of that game and has all the talent in the world, but he was playing 3A Mississippi high school ball at this time last year. So, not really ready for the speed of the Division I FBS college football game. Comes into the Troy game as his first game with some practice, and he's got a cannon of an arm, but just wasn't, didn't have a whole lot of chemistry with the receivers. And didn't get a whole lot going. And at that point in time, defenses figured out, hey, this kid's young. We get some pressure on him, then he's going to not be the most accurate thing on the planet, and then we can just focus on the run, shut that down, and they don't really have an offense, and that's what happened. He had a respectable game, threw for 2 touchdowns against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. And then came the Rice game the following week, first drive of the Rice game over in Houston. He hurts his ankle. So I said 4th string. There's a quarterback named Jack Walker that I haven't mentioned because he was hurt in practice before he ever got to get any game action. He was a transfer from a Mississippi junior college, I believe Northwest, that came in before the season. And so he would have been the 3rd guy to go to, but was unavailable. So now we're down to a kid named Jake Lang, and Jake has thrown for he threw for 321 yards in that game against Rice, but he also threw 3 interceptions. And then he comes back against UTEP with a week full of practice, and he threw for 239 yards and a couple of touchdowns and only 1 interception. So he's getting better, but he was a high school quarterback at Jackson Prep in Jackson, Mississippi, and he wasn't even the full-time starter at his high school. He threw for 500 yards and 2 touchdowns his senior year of high school. So, I mean, that's basically what we're working with. He's a smart kid. He's accurate. He knows what to do. He's just not the most talented kid in the world. So that's what we're working with now. Our major issues have been on offensive line. We had the same starters on offensive line for the first 2 games, where we had 125 rushing yards against South Alabama, and then came in almost got 300 against Grambling. And then our Mr. All Everything center, Arvin Fletcher, who had 50 career starts under his belt for the Eagles, gets hurt, and his career is going to be done. This was his last year after his injury. He decided just to hang up the cleats and walk away. So we got a lot of young guys on the offensive line that haven't played a lot of football. And since that second game, I don't think we've had the same mix more than one game. It's just really hard to get chemistry going there. And just when teams learn they can pin their ears back and kind of mess with that young, inexperienced offensive line, it spells trouble for our quarterbacks. And it's been really difficult to get any offensive momentum going.
Yeah, Shane, and that was going to be my next question too, about what was going on with the offensive line, but I definitely think you nailed that right there. So another thing, previewing this year for Conference USA before the season got started, we knew what Frank Gore Jr. could do. Obviously, for those that don't know, UAB fans listening, he is the son of Frank Gore, but so Frank Gore not being able to get going this year, that is just definitely because of the offensive line, right? I mean, are people just loading the box and just saying, all right, you got to beat us through the air? And with a 4-string quarterback, I mean, it's kind of hard to do that. But that just definitely, from outside looking in, is why Frank Gore Jr. has not been able to get anything going really, other than the Grambling game. But
yeah, that's it. We've given up 28 sacks so far in the first half of this year too. So most of our problems really stem from offensive line. Our defense, is playing surprisingly well. UTEP did rush for 265 yards against us last week, but they broke several long runs. Just one was a reverse. They got out of containment and went 60 yards. So we actually, our safety kind of bit, and he popped outside the cornerback tried to arm tackle the guy, and he was gone down the sidelines. That was one of the 3 big plays in that game that really killed us. But defense and special teams are playing really well. We just cannot get anything going on offense. And those problems really go back to the offensive line and the fact that there's just so much youth there and not a lot of experience. And those guys are just having a hard time gelling. There was a play in the UTEP game. It was 3rd down. Jake Lang rolls out our best receiver on the team, our kind of go-to guy, Jason Brownlee, number 1, won the battle at the line of scrimmage, was running wide open down the field. Jake had read the play beautifully, was going to throw it to him, probably would end up being a touchdown for us. Instead, guy on his backside misses his block. Jake gets smoked from behind, fumbles the ball, bounces in the air. One of our offensive linemen pick it up, takes 2 steps, fumbles it again. It bounces in the air. UTEP picks it up and runs for about a 60-yard touchdown on that play. The reverse I mentioned was kind of a backbreaker. That was the death blow in the game. It was really hard to get our momentum back after that. And then there was a point where we had gotten down to the 3-yard line, and it was 1st and goal from the 3. And we did not get the ball in the end zone just because we got absolutely no push up front. So you run 4 plays from inside the 5 and you gain 1 yard, that shows you that you've got some big offensive line issues. So those are those 3 plays, the reverse, the fumble return for the touchdown, and not being able to score from the 3, we lost that game by 13 points and there's a 21-point swing right there. So every game it's been like that. It's been, if we make 3 or 4 more plays that we just completely flub, we're in the game to the final seconds and have a good shot to win. So our record makes us look a little worse than we are. Our offensive line probably is that bad, but we've got a lot of young talent at skill positions. Frank Gore, luckily, since we can't really get any holes open for him, he's able to make something happen, a couple plays a game. But if we can get the ball in his hands in space, the first guy's not bringing Frank Gore Jr. down. I mean, he's shifty, he's electric, he's a smart football player. He grew up with a certain Hall of Famer as a father, and really is mature but beyond his years as a COVID freshman, and will be a leader and somebody to watch on this Golden Eagle team for years to come. But our second running back, Dejon Richard, a little bit bigger than Frank, also a freshman, is going to be a good running back for us for years to come. Talented guy. He comes in and carries the ball as well. And then one of our best skill players outside of Jason Brownlee is a guy named Chandler Pittman, who's a true freshman, number 12. And that kid is going to be an absolute animal for Southern Miss by the time he's a junior or senior. I mean, just shows flashes of greatness already. He scored our first touchdown against Alabama. It was the first touchdown of his career. I can't imagine being a true freshman coming into Bryant Denny Stadium and you score your first collegiate freshman, or first collegiate touchdown on Alabama's starters. That's got to be an amazing feeling.
Definitely.
So we've got a lot of promise. Will is not the kind of coach that's going to throw somebody under the bus. His whole stick is positivity, and attitude is everything. And on Southern Miss stuff, you'll see a lot of hashtag AIE, which is attitude is everything. And, the players are bought in. I'm sure it's rough for them, especially when you go 1-5 and you start to hear grumblings from parts of the fan base. It doesn't make it any easier, but they continue to come out with positivity, and they know that the coaches are leading them in the right direction. They just got to go and work every week and try to get better. Yeah, it's most of our problems stem from lack of veteran talent on the offensive line, and the fact that we're now playing our 4-string quarterback.
Right. But it's like you mentioned earlier, Shane, with the talent, the young talent is there, and Will Hall already recruiting better than Jay Hopson ever did really at Southern Miss. So there are some great things to come for this Southern Miss team. I'm definitely hoping that the bad luck continues this week. Now, I certainly don't want any injuries or anything, but I definitely do hope some bad luck continues, at least on the playing field, with fumbles and just crazy stuff.
Yeah, and I think you're going to get that wish. I was looking at some analytics earlier today. I think you guys have like a 97% chance of winning this game based on the numbers, guys. I try to be an ever optimist when it comes to Southern Miss. I don't like to get negative. That's not really going to accomplish anything for you. But I don't think you'll talk to many Southern Miss fans that really feel that we've got a legitimate chance of winning this game this year. Bill Clark's just done such an excellent job of building your program, and your year in and year out, you're one of the perennial favorites to definitely win the West and make a run at the conference championship. So UTEP and Rice are a little bit different story. We kept those games close. UTEP, I think a lot of people are going to be surprised that they're much improved. In those same analytics I was looking at this morning, UTEP is favored over Louisiana Tech this weekend. So that win will get them to bowl eligibility for the first time in who knows how long. I feel bad for the fans of the UTEP program, but glad that they're experiencing some success. I hate that it's at our expense this year, but there's just they're not on the level of UAB either. And with what you guys have on your defensive front, I just see our poor guys on the offensive line getting mauled. I don't think they're ready. They will be ready eventually. We'll hopefully get some JUCO and transfer portal transfers in there to help them out, give them a little boost next year. But it's just what it is this year. That's we're going to have to expect a rocky road. And I don't think our wins that we will get over the course of the season are going to come at the UAB's and the UTSA's expense. I think we've got much better shots with the North Texases and the FIUs of the conference to get a couple more wins. But just not seeing it happen this weekend.
Well, Shane, before we wrap up, talk a little bit about this Southern Miss defense. I know we talked a little bit earlier, but this is a really good, defense for Southern Miss. You got Malik Shorts, you've got Josh Ratcliffe on the line. I mean, there's some guys on that defense that are, really talented and really good. It's just, it seems, when it gets to like midway through the third quarter, they just kind of tire out. But I mean, that's no fault of their own. It's just because the offense, unfortunately with the injuries that you mentioned earlier, just can't seem to get the ball going consistently and moving the chains consistently. But tell Blazer fans a couple guys on the defensive side of the ball that we need to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, Malik Shorts at safety, number 9, is a sophomore. There's a small town outside of Hattiesburg named Bassfield. I think it's 2,500 people, and they're just an absolute pipeline of football talent. And that's Malik Shorts is from that area. It used to be Bassfield High School a couple of years ago, or a few years ago at this point. Time's getting away from me. They consolidated with another high school in that area, so now they're Jefferson Davis. But between Bassfield and Jeff Davis, they have produced a lot of good football players. Some guys that I think there's 3 guys from that tiny little high school that are in the league right now. Some twin brothers that played at Ole Miss, and then Cornell Armstrong, I believe, is still on a roster, if not a practice squad, that played cornerback at Southern Miss. But Malik Shorts, number 9, back there at safety, is definitely one to keep your eye on. Eric Kitchen on the defensive line is a big body that plays well. You mentioned Ratliff. Josh Carr is a transfer at defensive end that came in from Southeast Louisiana in the offseason, and we had never really heard of him until he kind of broke out on the scene. He's kind of our edge rusher, kind of our sack machine. So keep your eyes on him if there's any third and longer situations where it's definitely going to go to the air. Got a talented group of linebackers with Hayes Maples, Swayze Bozeman, Santrell Latham, Avery Habas, talented guys that play good football. And that, you touched on it, really what their downfall has been is that our offense can't really sustain a whole lot of drives. They've done better the last couple of games, so they're on the field a lot. They get tired, and we've got 2 deep talent, but when you're on the field the majority of the game, it's really hard to keep that going. They actually played a much better second half against UTEP than they did a first half. They cut down on the busted long runs, and I don't remember what they held the Miners to rushing in the second half, but the bulk of that 265 that they gave up was from about 3 long runs that were given up in the first half. So the defense can hold their own. They're better against the run than they are the pass. It seems like we give up some passes in third down situations for first downs that would really change the game if we could hold those. But the defense is respectable. It's just that they stay on the field a lot.
Right. Well, Shane, I enjoyed it, man. You, Jamie, and Jason, keep up the great work on To the Top Talk. Blazer fans, make sure that you check them out. Again, go to Twitter at To the Top Talk and give Shane a follow as well at Eagles_to the top. And best of luck, Shane, to you guys in the rest of the season. And, I do agree with you. I think Will Hall will get this going in the right direction. It's just in rebuilding mode, it'll take them maybe another year or 2, but we'll see how things go. But thanks again for taking the time and talking with me today.
Yeah, man. One other player, not on offense or defense, that I do want to mention before I run. Our punter may be the best player on our team.
Okay.
He's getting a lot of opportunities to do so. Kid's name's Mason Hunt. He transferred out of Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, but just got named to the Ray Guy Award watch list this past week because he came out of nowhere. Nobody really knew about him. But I believe he averaged almost 52 yards a punt against UTEP. Kid absolutely bangs it, kicks a beautiful spiral. So when you force us to punt and the guy just kicks an absolute monster of a punt, don't be surprised. Your punt return guys are going to want to line up probably 10 to 15 yards deeper than they normally do, or they're going to be turning around and running backwards a lot. But I had to give some love to the punter because,
of course,
it's a joke amongst the Southern Miss fan base that he may be our best player, but he's been an absolute weapon that pins people inside the 10-yard line and just kicks some monster punts and has probably kept us closer in some games than we should have been. So wanted to mention him. Appreciate you having me on. I won't make Blazer fans listen to any Southern Miss talk anymore. I know you guys want to get back to talking about the Blazers, but definitely appreciate you having us on, and we'll be talking about you guys. I'll be drinking whiskey and getting drunk and talking noise on our podcast. So if you're bored and you want to listen to what we have to say, we'll have that out for you Wednesday night.
Nice. And guys, Steve and I will be back in a couple days after the Southern Miss game to give you guys a reaction to the UAB Southern Miss game. But as always, go Blazers.